Well, okay, Senatape! This is Wellness Wednesday, Native Wellness Institute. We come every Wednesday, Nistu Makoyo Sekoyi, and the badass auntie. And oh my God, we're in Phoenix, Arizona. We got the Trailblazers, we got the Tribes, Prima Maricopa, Tios. I call them Tios because dang, they can make some tortillas. Ooh, and we got some Navajos. Dang, they can make that fry bread. But we're here, and I have to, you know me, I get overexcited. We have 120 family members that traveled from Alaska, Hawaii, Montana, Minnesota. I think even hitchhiked. Indians, they just get out there and some other Indians pick them up and give them a bologna sandwich and some Lay's potato chips, and they hit the road. But we have a special guest, and I stand next to the future of our world with Native women in leadership. And so I just I'll let her introduce herself, but welcome to Wellness Wednesday. We're here for an hour. We're positive, productive, and proactive, and we want to uplift Indian country. So we have several guests. I'm so excited. That's why I'm just like sitting here, like my energy. So with our first guest, when I first seen her come into the room, I saw dignity. I saw doesn't get kicked off pedestal, and is just a person who can articulate where we are. And so welcome, from New Zealand, kia ora, welcome Aboriginals, and welcome First Nations across Canada and the 574 tribes in the lower 48. So with our first guest, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Monica Anton, the current Lieutenant Governor for the Gila River Indian Community. We're the river people from Arizona. We have about 23,000 members in 7 villages, and our ancestors were the Ho'okam. My grandfather and grandparents were very strong in our tradition. We are the tribe that have fought with our water, the first in United States history to win a water settlement. And with that water settlement, we need to continue our traditions in making our baskets and our cultural and just recognizing where we come from as a people. So we're 2 tribes. We're the Gila River Indian community and the Peepaw people. And we have fought for our community land rights. And we're here excited to be here with the Southwest Indigenous Women's Coalition, who I've met a long time ago. We're here for the 2023 MMIWP gathering. Now, I come from a line I'm the 3rd tribal leader, Lieutenant Governor. We've had 2 other female governors. I'm the 3rd one to sit in the seat for a 2nd time. So it's my 2nd term, and I'm gonna keep rolling and going and representing our people. But what's happening here today, as was mentioned, it's an honor. Our land is the land of the water. It's a healing land, and I'm so honored to host many of the tribes from different nations that are here from Montana, from Hawaii. They're bringing their healing salt. They're bringing all of the healing, our sage. And what we're doing is healing prayers for all of the women and families that are telling their story. They're still telling the stories of homicides that have happened, traumatic, that it never goes away. Justice never goes is what I'm gaining out of this event. Even though there's prosecutions and everything else that happens, the justice still stays with the family. Many tears, 28 years later, 29, it doesn't matter. We're honoring and bringing alive those that have gone from homicides and domestic violence, and the list goes on and on. But I'm really honored here to be there because of the host, and I'm grateful that they came to our land to be blessed, from the Plains tribes, from Hawaii, those up from Canada. We were out there, New Zealand, all the tribes out there. I know that we all went through generational trauma. We're still We're healing from that, though. We can't keep that burden locked in. We're going to have to release that. But here's my shirt. It's a missing and murder. All these little women, all these families represent a family here that had lost a loved one to a tragedy. But we're here to support them as tribal leader. If you don't have the tribal leader at the forefront, you really don't have your clout to work. And we support the MMIWP. Look me up. My name's Monica Antone. I sit on the Arizona State Task Force, and we're moving fast to help our loved ones. So, Sapo, thank you.
Sapo. And as you can see, oh my God, thank you. Hug your tribal leaders. And you know, sometimes don't just be asking them for stuff. Just sometimes you give them stuff. And if it's just a hug like this, I just want to hug my sister. I want to thank you, and I want to thank you, and you're going to have a long life, and you're going to thank you for what you've done and what you're going to do.
Thank you.
I can just see you as a trailblazer.
Right.
So thank you
Sapo.
very much. So welcome to Native Wellness Institute. This is Wellness Wednesday, and we have special guests coming in. It's just so Lieutenant Governor. Wow. Imagine if all lieutenant governors came and said, we want wellness for our people. We want mind, body, and spirit wellness for our people. And so just think about this. Put down your beer. We need sober leadership. Put down your fentanyl. No, you guys know my humor. You know my humor. So our next guest, God, I don't know, I might have known her for 40 years. We'll be dating ourselves. But our executive director, Jolene Joseph, was always talking about Leanne Guy. Leanne Guy did this. Leanne Guy did that. And then we finally get to meet her. But Leanne is the trailblazer, and she is coordinating. She doesn't let people silo. She brings them together and has some responsibility for bringing these 120 relatives, families, and showing their voice. And so I'm going to let her introduce, put the hearts, put everything, and share this, because when you share this, you stop the murdering of our sisters and our relatives. When you share this, you bring awareness and intervention, and that's when the healing starts. And I'll just have to say, every child matters, Lavina Louie. But without further ado, I'm going to ask Leanne hey, Leanne, what's going on here?
Hey everybody. Hello. Yate Bene. My name is Leanne Guy, and I'm the Executive Director for the Southwest Indigenous Women's Coalition, also known as SWIC. And we changed our name a few years ago because we wanted to be more inclusive. We wanted to be more inclusive to all our relatives in our tribal communities. And our name is specified women, so that's why we changed it to SWIC. And I just want to say that we are here in Gila River, the land of the Akmil Atham people, and we are proud to be here. Families here, and we're at our gathering here. And this logo, I have to say, was designed by Waylon P. Pahona, Hopi artist. I mean, he does all kinds of things, but this beautiful logo represents all of the families, all of those who have a loved one missing or murdered. So this gathering is all about that. It's about helping families. It's about being that resource, that support for families who are missing a loved one, whether they don't know where they are, they've been missing for years, or they've been murdered. And we have families representing, as Theda said, from all over, from Alaska to Hawaii, across the U.S., Indian country, who are here. And this is the first event of its kind, bringing people together, the families, and centering this work on them, surrounding them with love, with nourishment, providing them the support that they need to be able to talk about their loved one. So many have not seen justice, years and years. My own sister-in-law, Laverta Guy, Her family has been searching for her since 2002. Still no justice, no idea of what happened. So it's families like that who are here years and years later trying to figure out what happened to their loved one. And it's not something that is easy. It's a daily grief and sorrow that they are feeling. And so to be here, to surround them with love, to hear their stories, to make them feel like they are not alone, that they have the support from us and other individuals who are here. We have some awesome people who are facilitating discussion. Agnes Yellow Bear, her husband Whirlwind, just providing that healing that is so needed, the songs, the prayers, the medicines. We have Rachel Fernandez, who is here as well, Lenny Hayes, who is offering support, and it's being facilitated by Rose Quilt, Jermaine Amish Lucero. So there's lots of people here. Theda is here, and you know Theda brings that energy, brings that healing, that laughter that is so needed. Because these families are at a place where they need that healing energy. They need to feel the love. They need to laugh. They need to have just feel the love from all of us. So we are here, Gila River, and this is the first event, but we're going to be talking about the next event soon and how that will happen. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Aheha, for all of those tuning in.
Is it okay if I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah. So it's the third day, and I had like an emotional hangover of happiness and sadness and sorrow. And when I woke up this morning, so the question I have, what if the family's been saying? Because what came out of their mouths, like what were they wishing for, or what if the family's been saying? Because when I stood up, I like to stand behind because I like to be with the ancestors standing behind all of those giving their story, and their story, as you know, may be someone else's survival manual. So my question is, Leanne, just tell us, what have the family's been saying?
Oh gosh, I hope I don't cry. Let me just say that. And I think what I've been hearing the most, and from the beginning, is that families have been saying they want to come together. They want support. They want resources. They want justice. They want to know what happened. They want FBI to be on their case, to communicate with them with compassion. I think empathy is also what we're hearing. We're hearing that there are people say that they are there for them, organizations that we're going to help you, but yet there is no help. There is such a need for resources to help them, whether it be with gas money, food, just healing, having some trauma-informed care is what they're needing as well in their communities. Some of them are being silenced, Some of them are telling them, you don't talk about this, get over it. That's the same with my sister-in-law, her family, law enforcement. And we know that law enforcement is overworked, underfunded, not enough officers to cover their service areas. We know that healthcare, it takes a village, as they say. All of the people within the communities need to come together, to work together, to support these families. These families also are saying that they felt exploited. Like people were using their stories to get more money, and so we're bringing them here, trying to help them in that, that they don't feel, that they know that people care, genuinely care, and that we are here to help them. And that's what they also have said, is that they've not felt this before. They've not had an opportunity to come to a place like this, to be fed, to have their expenses covered, which is an opportunity that we are grateful that we've been able to do. So that's kind of where they're coming from, and having that sense of somebody cares, and that all of the people who are here who are helping them really are doing this from their hearts and a place of genuine sincere, just love that they do care for these families.
And I'm gonna hug you too. You know, last night I was in the hot tub, and there was a lot of the families who it's snowing back home, and there was tired mothers, tired grandmothers, and so I had there was some of the young women, and I said, you can go up. I'll watch them. The badass auntie will watch them. You know, but also I just wanted to share the story because when we were ready to go back to our rooms, I had to ask. You know, I said, "Is it okay if I walk you to your room?" Because ask women, do not let Native women walk around alone. Do not let, no matter what the age is, but say one of the things that action, walk, escort the divas around, you know, walk them. And then, but I said, or can you do it yourself? And they said, oh, heck, Auntie, I'm 19. I can, you know, let them say yes or no. And I said, okay, well, what's your number? You text me when you're in that room.
Right.
I mean, and so that's what I'm saying, Leanne, is what I have heard here is don't wait for other people to have the solution. We are the solution. One of the groups says nothing with us without us.
Exactly.
And so we have a group, we are the solution, but that means step up. Don't, and have your cameras ready. Have your videos ready. If you see something inappropriate happening on your reservation or in the city or on your reserve or in your village or in your area, you know, part of the justice is the evidence. Part of the justice is the evidence. And so there's a celebration going on where we're going to let Leanne go because we're doing a session of healing right now to never forgetting and say their name.
Yes.
Say their name. We have a quilt. Our Washington State relatives are putting a paddle with the name of the missing or murdered person. And they're going to make a quilt. And then we're making another quilt with each of the patches. The families are designing the squares right now, and it's going to be sewn into a quilt. We have all of the pictures. Put the pictures, put it on, you know, get off TikTok. Put a picture of a missing and murdered. God dang it. I'm just telling you, get involved. And that's what this woman has taught me. I just want to give you a hug and let you go because they're stepping out and we still got it going on. But we just wanted to give you an idea of what is happening with missing and murdered Indigenous women and relatives. And so that brings us to our next guest. Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
Our next guest is an advocate in our world that is bringing such awareness around LGBTQ, transgender, two-spirit, and it's really, because part of the healing is us returning to our indigenous ways or two-spirit or sacred, and part of the healing is homophobia and transphobia. Duh. And white supremacy. Duh. So I'll let him introduce himself. And I'm sure, you know, Lenny, what are your pronouns? Okay, he doesn't use, and tell us why. So our next guest was invited here to help. Well, he's a healer. He's just a natural healer. I've seen him the last 3 days with the families, bringing them water, asking them if they're okay, or just laughing with them, telling a joke. So I'll let him talk and introduce himself. So come over here, Lenny. I just love this gentle person. Who are you and what's going on here in Phoenix, Arizona?
Oh, it's just beautiful. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself in my spirit name. I am Tukawanahiluta, which means Redstone Ghost. My English name is Lenny Hayes, and I'm from the Sisseton, Wahpeton, Oyate of the northeast corner of South Dakota. And how I introduce myself is I always say that I'm a Winkta first, because that was the word that was given to me by my people. Second, I identify as a two-spirit, and then lastly, I identify as a gay male. And the reason why I do that is because before colonization, a lot of our tribal communities did have words for us. So if you really think about it and look at our languages across Indian country, our languages didn't have words for gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. They had a specific word to identify us. When Theda asked me if I use pronouns, I don't use pronouns because I believe it's a form of colonization. And the reason why I say that is because we do have tribal communities that don't even have word for gender in their language. And so I honor that, and the reason why I'm such a strong advocate of that is because just reminding people that because of colonization, we're being forced to use those, and it doesn't always fit in tribal communities in our language. So, and the reason why I was asked to be a part of this, and I just really want to uplift Leanne, because Leanne has done a lot of work in the Southwest, across Indian country with the Two-Spirit Native LGBTQ community. They were actually one of the first organizations, Native organizations, that created a advisory council specifically for Two-Spirit Native LGBTQ people, because she knew that there was such a thing as sexual abuse, there was such a thing as domestic violence happening in our community, and there wasn't enough education, there wasn't enough awareness. So we as an AC have worked hard, and I just want to tell everybody that in the future we are going to have a national organization which will be called the Two-Spirit and Native LGBTQ Plus Center for Equity. And so a lot of that was the work and encouragement of Leanne, who supported us. And I just want to do a shout out to one of the foundations that provided us with the grant and allowed us to take a 3-year strategic planning. We went across the country talking with our Two-Spirit relatives across Indian country and asked them, you know, what do you need? What do you think this organization needs to do for our people? The other piece that I really want to do a shout out to is our trans relatives, our transgender relatives across Indian country. I wish that one of our relatives was here who identifies, who could really speak more of her community. But I just want to remind people too that we have to remember our relatives who identify, and I want to also do a shout out to Sovereign Bodies Institute, which they were one of the first Native organizations to actually have data of missing and murdered Two-Spirit people. And I worked for Sovereign Bodies Institute for about 13 months as their missing and murdered Two-Spirit project assistant. So I was able to see that data, and I know that we have missing and murdered Two-Spirit relatives. So I just want to do a shout out to all these organizations that have really helped our community.
Lenny, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
Would you mind sharing some of your story or some of a story you've heard recently where it's around how do we find our authentic self? Because or Native Wellness Institute, we have so many young people come to our organization and they're finding themselves. So my question is, when a young Two-Spirit or however they identify, what kind of safety or what should we provide so that it isn't hidden? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's a really big question, but there's some simple things that we can do. First of all, we need to challenge our own personal biases and how we look at this population. And we must remember that before colonization, you know, these individuals were considered sacred and holy, and we did community roles within our tribal communities. And because of colonization, it has changed the way that we look and view this population. And so I just personally want to tell people, challenge your biases. If you have a child, I've worked with families because, you know, my background is in mental health and chemical health. I do own my own private practice. I've worked with families, I've worked with youth and adults and elders who actually identified. And so the thing that I tell our young people is don't be ashamed of who you are. And when I worked specifically with an 11-year-old boy, I didn't focus on what was happening to him, which was anxiety and depression. But what I did was I helped teach him about who he is and who he can become. So I focused on letting him know one day you're going to grow up to be a doctor, you're going to be a nurse. Maybe you may be someone who pours water in ceremony. That's your role as a two-spirit. So again, what we can do for our young people is tell them that there's nothing wrong with them. Also let them know that they're loved. Even if it's just one person out there who loves them, let them know that. Because that's important. Our young people who identify need to hear that, and that there's nothing wrong with them. And one of the things that is so astonishing, and I don't know if a lot of people know that, but our Native youth who identify have the highest rates of suicide. And what I've always said is our young people don't need to be killing themselves because of their identity.
Yes, yes. So let's flip some of the script. Like, what does Indian country, or what's coming up? I mean, like you said, this foundation you're working with, but what do we have to look forward to that opens the door of acceptance, opens the door to identity? Because we know identity, once you know who you are, you're resilient. You live long, you learn your language, you start to open doors. If you like to sing, you dance. So what do we have to look forward to with our two-spirit relatives?
Well, when you asked that question, I automatically thought of what a medicine man said to me about 10, 15 years ago. When we went to him and asked if he could have a special sweat for our two-spirit relatives when we were doing a two-spirit support group in Minneapolis. And he told us that he had a dream. And he said in his dream, he said, what I'm going to say is, he said, the two-spirit people are coming forward and they're going to take their place in community once again. So I really just honor that story, because that's what we're doing. I mean, look at this new organization that's going to be happening. We turned everything over to the board. And so please look out for this new Native organization, because, you know, one of the things I always say about our LGBTQ community is that they are also a group that also has forgotten us and our identity as Indian people, as two-spirit Native LGBTQ people. And so we basically said, okay, we need to do this for ourselves and for our community. So I want to do a shout out to the SWIC Advisory Council and, you know, Josie Raffiato, who is also co-chair with me of this advisory committee, Maddie Jim, Elton Noswood.
Awesome.
You know, the late Marlon Fipsicle, who was our elder on this advisory council. And one of the things when we created this advisory council, we wanted to make sure that the voices of everybody in our community were heard. We had a youth advisory committee, we had an elder advisory committee, we had a male and female who identified, we had a transgender person, non-binary. So these are just, you know, these are the identities that these people call themselves, and it's okay. And I just want to say, you know, as Native people, we need to understand that before colonization, we were looked upon as spiritual beings. Because of colonization, today we're looked upon as sexual beings. That's a lot to think about.
You know, and I'm gonna come in frame with you for a moment. I did prayers before this movie. I call it a healing movie, Killer of the Fire Moon. And several of our participants want to go see it, and some have seen it. And some have said it triggered them. And so Native Wellness Institute, we like to listen to everybody. We're not deciding what should be the response. But in that movie, it's an untold story of murdering Indian women. And it was okay, and it wasn't investigated. What thoughts do you have about that, Lenny?
So I've been able to sit with two families here at this gathering, and their child identified as Two-Spirit. And one of them today told her story of her son who identified. And what's so sad about it is that the people because we come from the same people, and relatives have told her to be quiet and asked her, when are you going to get over it? And so there's a lot of shame in how people in our own tribal communities look at people who identify as Two-Spirit, our native LGBTQ. I was able to sit with a mother who said, my daughter who was murdered, who's missing, she's actually missing, identified as Two-Spirit. So again, we have to remember, that it's happening to all our relatives, even our relatives who identify, and we need to create a safe space for them to come forward to tell their stories. And that's one of the reasons why I've become such a strong advocate for the community, because again, this population is silenced, and we need to help them say it's okay if your child identifies, if it's your brother or sister who identifies. They're still a human being that was taken at the wrong time and should have not been taken.
So I'm going to come back and frame. One of the things, and I screened it, is on Disney Plus. And on Disney Plus, it came out September 29th, and it's called The Roof. R-O-O-F. Blackfeet, roof. We say hut, and we say roof, and we say crick. But I cried because I was in a room who identified non-binary, she, her, they, a lot of theys, and that was just, and we cried. But it's on Disney Plus, and it's for awakening children who watch Disney Plus that it's okay, and that there was actually ceremonies. And I don't know if you've got to see The Roof, but can you comment on that?
Oh gosh, that was so amazing. And what I found it amazing too is that some of the individuals who were in that 18-minute movie were people who I honor, who identify, who I've learned from, who I've got to sit at the table with and talk with them and laugh with them and just be ourselves. So when I heard of that, I was so proud. And the writer of it also identifies too, and he went out and did the proper thing of talking to people in the community and saying what he wanted to do, and that's just a lot of respect to show towards our own people who identify. So it's amazing. So I encourage you all, get on Disney Plus, type in The Roof, and it's only 18 minutes of your time, and it's such a powerful story.
And I think I'll get in frame one more time. Is watch it and have a talking circle or family. It's just like with Killer of the Flower Moon. All over in Sacramento, 23 leaders, Barbara Aragon, Joanne Kaufman, Yvette Joseph, Faith Spotted Eagle all got together and they watched it and then they processed it. So a lot of what we're encouraged, there's many ways to heal, get Disney Plus. But the last question I want to ask you, and I guess I'll do it in this form. I just have attended the 26th annual and the 27th annual Two-Spirit gathering in Montana as an ally, because my daughter is Two-Spirit and she was missing for quite some time, and she's not missing now, and she's in prison. And I say that with no shame because she is alive and she's paying her dues. And she's getting in the sweat lodge there. She's teaching the languages. But I have a boundary. I only speak to her when she's clean and sober. And now I have another boundary because as a parent, she knows what to do. And so I don't helicopter her. So we only speak on Sundays, and it's a beautiful conversation. But my question is, what the 28th annual, the 30th annual, gathering of Two Spirit, and I guess Lenny, you know, when I was at not this last year, but the year before, a third of those who came were from Canada, and they were 14 years old, 20 years old, and the only way that they had found out was because they went online during the pandemic, and they learned about it. And then there was I call them the old G's, you know, Steve Barrios, Raven Heavy Runner, Hiram Upham, Renee. There was just, and I say the old G's because they have a lot of experience and a story to share, walking for 70 years in their identity and not hiding it and getting bullied and getting, and so what do you think about these annual gatherings, or what do you think about any of the things that I've just commented on, Lenny? Because as you can see, I appreciate this person's opinion very much because he's a badass.
So, you know, I'm always, I do a lot of the advocacy, which can be really hard and difficult sometimes, right? I do a lot of violence prevention work. But one of the things I'm always reminded by my relatives who identify, and one specifically said to me, Lenny, you talk about all the bad things that happen in our community, but there's good things that are happening. And I remember the first time I went to the Montana Two Spirit gathering, and how wonderful it was to sit with relatives across the country whom I hadn't even met, and just sit with them and laugh and having ceremony there and just feeling safe, right? So I just want to say that I would just want to uplift Auntie Stephen, you know, who's been in the movement for a long, long time, and all these elders who paved the way for us to do the work. And now it's time for us to help our young people and pave the way for them to continue the work, right? And I just want to do a shout out to Bates, the Bay Area American Indian Two Spirit Powwow, which has been going on for quite a number of years. I think it's either their 13th or 14th year, I believe, this year. But they were the first and longest running Two Spirit powwow in the country. And now we look across Indian country, and a lot of these universities, all of these little organizations of individuals who identify, who are creating their own powwows, their own Two Spirit powwows within their community. So there is amazing things that our community is doing, and especially with this new organization that's going to happen, what they're going to do at a national level to help our people. It's just amazing.
It is.
So
it is amazing, and so I'm going to let Lenny go. We have 120 people getting ready to, or we're doing some closing ceremonies. We've got songs, and that was, you know, one of the other things that happened here was we had singers come in and just sing to us and heal us. And then we had Caroline Antone. She just kept a smudge going out outside, and people continually smudged. They continually listened to songs. They continually started telling their stories one-on-one, and then got brave enough to get up in front of the whole group and tell some of their story. And some, they had others tell their story for them because they're still healing that part. And so remember, your relative may not be ready to go into a big arena. They just need one person, two persons in the family. Number one, to believe them. And number two, to hear them and don't give any advice. Just listen.
yeah. Don't silence them.
Don't silence. So, any comments before you leave?
Well, I just want to remember, I mean, this isn't something new that's just happened. It's really hard to sit with families who've had a relative missing to 20 to 30 years and how much pain they still carry. And so, you know, just continue to pray for all the heart advocates across the country who are really bringing a light to this. And again, I just want to do a shout out to SWIC and inviting me to be a part of the planning committee you know, making sure that, you know, the Two-Spirit people are recognized. And yeah, so this was an amazing 3-day event. And, you know, we have to take care of ourselves too, because we tended to the people so much. And after we leave today, you know, we got to take care of ourselves too.
So with that, I'm gonna thank you. Let you return, and I'll just I'll give some closing thoughts for Wellness Wednesday. And Lenny said something very important about self-care, and I have to confess, I've been on the road for 11 days, but I'm heading home early in the morning. But one of the things, I had a dream, you know, coming here about a friend, Justine Jimmy's mom, Betty Jimmy. And she was a San Carlos Apache woman that smiled with her eyes. And she didn't speak, so it's almost telepathic, but she just smiled with her eyes. And so it has to, so I messaged Justine, and this is just self-care. This is a self-care story. I wanted to see Killer of the Flower Moon with someone who I trusted and someone who loves me deeply. So if you go with someone who cherishes you, and so Justine, and she brought her beautiful friend, they've been friends forever, from Moronga. And you know, go get your elders, because I just asked, I said, can you come get me, you know, and escort your elders around. So they came and got me and brought me to their favorite theater because of comfort, with easy chairs that go back. But I had said all these prayers, and I said the prayers because of Lily Gladstone. Lily is one of our Skapi Pikani sisters that I just hold up, that we hold up. And now she is talented. She is brilliant. She was just fantastic. So much. It was, you know, because we know Lily in our real lives. And then the Gladstone family is known as a family that really pushes for wellness of mind, body, and spirit, and sobriety. The family of the Gladstones started some of the first 12-step in Seattle, Washington, where 7,000 Blackfeet live. But Lily, I just, seeing her and seeing our people who look, I mean, I'm kind of greasy, but that's okay. Indian oil of Olay. But I just, seeing her on the screen did something for my self-care. Because when you see someone on the screen that looks just like you, looks, you know, just Indian, big Indian face, but she's so beautiful. But the character, I just love that Molly was so tenacious, that Molly, the character, and, you know, in real life, and the Osage people, it exemplified how, and I'm not gonna, the English words, how much igakima, like try hard, is a word, how, you know, kitsikakomim, how cherished she cherished her sisters, how she cherished her tribe, and how she assessed her tribe being abused and used because of their oil money, and how she tried to hire her own private investigator, and how she just did not. And it reminds me of what's going on here in Phoenix, Arizona, with the National Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and relatives gathering, because this is a safe place. And so our group here, some haven't got a chance because a lot are just from the reservation. And when you're from a rural res, it takes a while for you to get to the theater, but they're They're all going to go see it. And so if you haven't seen it yet, remember it's 3.5 hours. So that means, you know, bring your snacks, go to bathroom before, hey, and be with someone that you can visit about. Because when you're healing, and you know, there's all these English words of it might trigger, it might do this. Be ready to just heal and learn of how brilliant and how majestic and how extraordinary Osage Nation is. Just a shout out to Chris and Jordan out there. I know Chris had a lot to do with helping Robert De Niro speak Osage and Leonardo speak Osage. And a shout out to them. You know, I was kind of like, yeah, they're two white men. But they play, remember when you're on screen, you're acting, but they did such a good job, and they brought, because of this. So the other thing that, and this is one of the stories that I heard, and I'm just sharing because when it's healing, it's good to hear all the stories. The director of Killer of the Fire Moon was not liked by Weinstein. And Weinstein tried to shut this director down. And it's interesting, you know, Weinstein's in jail now, and now he's probably going to win, you know, all kinds of Oscar nominations. And that's good. But talk about the healing. Talk about the healing parts of Killer of the Fire Moon. Talk about what parts helped you dig deeper in, you know, because I remember when her husband was giving her that extra heroin in her insulin. Remember that? And I just remember, gosh, that's almost like in this room next door. That's how with the sex trafficking, some of the women were given drugs, and then they could control them. And so when she was Lily in the character of Molly, that was healing and self-care, because I'm with a lot of, you know, I don't say other people's sobriety, but there's a lot of like 30 years in this room. The parents that are telling their story say they got sober when their relative was missing, that they stopped drinking when their relative got murdered. And so take this, I thought it's a healing movie. And I think I'm going to see it again because my 85-year-old mother, she said it was so epically wonderful. It was so acted, and she thinks, and I'll have to look at it again because she thinks they digitized and they put some of our leaders like Dennis Banks in the background. So I have to watch it a second time. But this time when I watch it, smudge before, do ceremony of grounding, and that's, I think here where I'm going to go get a Reiki treatment. Woo, 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 woo. And then I'm going to meet, shout out to Dwight Francisco and Trevo Foster. They have all of the youth, and we're going to go to, I think it might be a high school, but it's where all the they're bringing all the Indian youth, and they want to take pictures with the badass auntie. But that's, we're going to take pictures, and then they're going to talk, and they're going to sing, because he's an MC at powwows. Dwight helps all of the Native men if they want to heal. Dwight helps all of the Two-Spirit LGBT here in Phoenix. So I need to give a shout out to Native American Connections with 26 houses. Janelle Allen, who I think is working at the university now. There is such a healing movement here in this room. And Native Wellness Institute just wanted to tell you some of the story today. And so I just, I say to you, it's shifting. We're going to move towards the solstice. in December. We're coming off an equinox. And in our bigger world, you know, I want to say prayers for Israel and the Palestinians and the potential of our people already getting involved in that war. That to say prayers, I ask you to say prayers for us gathering here, for our relatives that are still missing. I want to give a shout out to Rhonda Conley, the Old Person family, the Calf-looking family, Willie Pepian's mom, Wilma is here. There's several Omscapi Piikani Blackfeet families, as well as South Dakota families, as well as Alaskan families, and our Hawaiians. And there's rumor that the next gathering here might be in Hawaii. So we invite all of you. So we, with that, we started 1 hour ago because the lieutenant governor had to go on early, and so we've been with you for an hour. This is Wellness Wednesday. We're here. Again, you know the story. We started out 7 days a week, 5 days a week, and so we're here Wellness Wednesday. There's Native Dads Network is sold out, Boys with Braids. Native Wellness Institute will be having a GONA training of trainers at Barbie's Village next month. We'll return here to Phoenix, where we'll have adults working with youth. White Bison is, Sparrow is just out there doing training with families, of daughters of tradition, sons of tradition. Just a really, there's a tsunami of healing happening for our people, and so we want you to. And I can't leave out Al Pooley and the Native Dads Father and Families Association. They are just helping whole families heal. So that shout out, and I just want to tell all of you, it's been an awesome power hour with these guests. And so you can go to www.nativewellness.com and put in any requests that you need from us. You can go to Native Dads Network every Tuesday, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Mike Duncan goes on. Yesterday was dynamite. It was about your purpose. Such a good topic. And so we look forward to, we do know that the Healing Together Conference in 2024 is going to happen at Suquamish on Bainbridge. And I think that's in September. So start planning. And Jolene was just telling me that we're going to return to Hawaii for our Wellness in the Workplace. So there's a lot of positive going on. And so I'll end with that. Say a prayer to me. I'm heading back to the homeland, which for me is with my pet fox, my grizzly bears, my pet skunks, and my relatives. So with that, I'll say, kitakito matsuno. And I'll just, if you're noticing my earrings, this is a Lavina Louie original. How's that? Every child matters, And this of course, comes from reservation dogs with the beaded clitoris. Tasba gave me that. But also in Canada, this shirt you can buy at any of the Walmarts for $15 because all of Canada wants to raise awareness for Every Child Matters. So there's wear your t-shirts, wear your ribbon skirts, and let us know, comment what you think of Killer of the Fire Moon, the movie. Shout out to Tatanka, badass in there. There was just, our people are so talented. Our people are so good. I'm gonna go see it again. But with that, I'm going to say kitakita matsuno, and we'll see you next Wednesday.